This story follows Captain Oren Cade, a tough human marine trapped inside a brutal space prison called Iron Halo. An elite alien kill squad invades the prison to capture or kill him. Cade must fight through deadly enemies, dangerous traps, and a collapsing station while protecting a secret data core that could expose a terrible war crime. The story is full of tension, action, and raw emotion as Cade leads desperate allies against overwhelming odds. The stakes are high, not just survival but justice and hope for many lives beyond the prison walls. The tone is intense and cinematic, showing Cade's courage and pain as he faces nearly impossible challenges. The story explores themes of sacrifice, loyalty, and the strength of the human spirit when hunted by ruthless foes. Captain Oren Cade sat alone in the dimly lit mess hall of Iron Halo prison. The room smelled stale and sour. Overhead fans rattled like a gunshot that never stopped. Cade pushed a spoonful of vitamin porridge around his bowl, tasting nothing but chalk. The yellow night cycle lights cast long shadows across the cracked metal floor. Most prisoners were locked in their cells, but some smugglers still whispered deals and traded contraband in the sticky air. Cade slipped a ration chit toward Dimma, a large smuggler with knuckle studs, and said lazily, "Here. Protein bars. The new ones from last shift. I can tell the difference." Dimma grunted, grabbing the ration without looking up. 3 members of the Iron Dog gang pushed through the crowd, muscles thick and tattoos flashing on their necks. Their leader, Maddox, slapped Dimma's bowl to the floor. "Protein bars are ours tonight," Maddox declared, his eyes sharp and cold like broken glass. Cade didn't move. He just smiled faintly and set his spoon down. "Funny. I didn't hear a bid." Maddox stepped closer, palm resting on the ceramic shiv at his belt. Dimma backed away. Tension grew thick between the two groups like predators circling. Suddenly the lights snapped off. Total darkness swallowed the room. A moment later, red emergency strobes flashed, casting everything in sharp, jagged shadows. The floor trembled under Cade's boots. A deep boom echoed through the station, the sound of something large striking the Iron Halo's hull. Conversation stopped. Maddox's hand twitched toward his blade, but he froze. Cade stood, voice low but steady. "External breach," he said. "Someone's here. Someone who doesn't want witnesses." Security screens flickered to life with a lockdown message. "Remain in cells." Dimma bolted down the corridor. Maddox weighed the room, half-drawn blade glowing in the emergency light. But no one chose sides. No one moved. Cade's eyes narrowed toward the ceiling vents. He recognized the tremor. It was no meteor strike. Someone had latched on. Someone with a purpose. Outside the prison's docking spine, 8 operatives moved in perfect formation. Varric Tal led the alien kill squad, his armor black and sleek like a shadow. Weapons were ready and every step was calculated. They were silent hunters. Their target, Captain Oren Cade. Inside, Cade moved fast. He found a maintenance ladder and climbed into the zero-gravity shaft above cell block 5. Sweat lifted from his neck and floated like tiny stars in the red light. Below him, guards and alien soldiers marched in tight formations. Pulse bolts tore open doors, but no one died. The aliens wanted no massacre, only Cade. Cade slipped through the maze of corridors, muscles tensed, heart hammering. He reached the tool workshop and sealed the door behind him. The room was hot and thick with burnt soy stink from a ruptured protein pack. Rows of power tools hung unused. Cade grabbed a compact rail pistol and loaded it, then took a fuel tank for an oxyacetylene torch. He mapped his escape. The vents above the hallway offered a narrow but deadly path. Suddenly the door caved in. A Velethi scout, armor like dark feathers, stepped inside. Cade acted fast. He pulled a wire loop connected to the fuel tank's valve and triggered an explosion of acid gas. The scout screamed as armor melted, then crashed to the floor. A second scout aimed a rifle. Cade fired twice. Blue fluid sprayed the wall as the alien fell. Silence returned, broken only by tiny alarms and dripping plastic. But Cade knew more would come. He pocketed the cracked data core, proof of a massacre buried by the alien command, and limped toward the coolant trenches. The prison yard was a nightmare. Flickering sky panels cast shadows over cracked concrete. Guard towers fired warning shots and clouds of thick, green stun gas rolled over the ground. Prisoners scrambled, coughing and panicked. Cade spotted a woman trapped under a fallen girder, her arm pinned beneath steaming metal. Her auburn hair was matted with sweat and grime. "Dara Quinn," Cade said, sliding beside her. "You still breathing?" She nodded, jaw tight. Cade wedged his prosthetic shoulder under the beam and heaved. The metal groaned and lifted. Dara pulled free, blood streaming down her arm. "No time to bleed," Kate said, handing her a protein bar. "We're going shopping for guns." They darted through the chaos as stun gas hissed behind them. Patrol drones buzzed overhead, firing non-lethal rounds to herd prisoners into choke points. They reached the laundry bay, a black market hideout where desperate inmates traded weapons and favors. Fletcher Rui, a sharp-eyed smuggler, lounged on a table. "Well, Captain," Fletcher said, voice smooth as velvet, "you bring laundry or trouble?" Cade laid down a roll of encrypted comm codes, stolen naval frequencies worth a shuttle suit or two. "Bring 10 fighters with discipline," Cade said. "And I won't feed you to the birds." Fletcher's smirk faded. Orders were barked. Guns were loaded. The group moved like shadows, climbing elevators and ducking through service corridors. Meanwhile, Varric Tal and his alien squad sealed vents and released stun gas to crush resistance. But Cade's allies fought back, pushing toward the launch decks and a possible escape. The stakes were clear: survive long enough to broadcast the data core's secrets to the galaxy. But enemies closed in. Cade gritted his teeth, gripping his rail pistol. His arm throbbed with pain, a cracked prosthetic nearly lost in the fight. "Not tonight," he muttered. "Not now." The prison shook with explosions. The iron halo was dying and Cade was its last hope. The cold fog of coolant mist wrapped around Cade and his small band as they pushed deeper into Iron Halo's twisted corridors. The thick haze muffled their movements but also hid their shapes from patrols. Cade's breath steamed in his helmet as he limped on, the weight of the stolen data core pressing heavy on his back. Dara kept close, her fingers steady on the multi-tool she used to disarm traps. The stun gas was still creeping through the prison like a silent predator, choking anyone unlucky enough to be caught. Each step was a battle against time. 3 tripwires here," Dara whispered, kneeling to cut fragile copper filaments tied to coolant lines. "If we don't cut these, the next blast will rip us apart." She worked fast, lips pressed tight, sweat dripping into her eyes. Cade winced as a sharp pain shot through his prosthetic calf. The biointerface was damaged, coolant leaking into the metal joint. But he swallowed the pain and pressed forward. They reached the chapel, a ruined place where prisoners once gathered in hope but now only found fear. Factions huddled together, clutching makeshift weapons, eyes wide with desperation. Cade raised his voice. "Listen up. We have proof that the Velethi command covered up a massacre on Cinder 4. We can bring them down, but we need every fighter who wants a future." Scar, a skinny inmate with tattooed rings around his neck, stepped forward. "Why should we trust you? The brass here only sends us to die." Cade's gaze hardened. "Because I'm not asking you to die. I'm asking you to fight for a chance to live, to be heroes, not meat shields." Murmurs spread. Some nodded, some glared. But slowly the factions merged, forming a fragile alliance. "Dar," Cade said, "how's the data core?" Dara's eyes flicked to the cracked device glowing faint amber inside his prosthetic arm. "I patched it with a power feed from the drone control pit. If we can hold the pit, I can broadcast everything." The plan was risky. The drone control pit was a ruined room littered with broken consoles and dead soldiers. But it was their only chance to send out the proof before Iron Halo collapsed. They moved fast, crossing the chapel floor with guns ready. The air was thick with tension and the smell of burnt ozone. Suddenly, the faint sound of metal clanging echoed from the hall. Velethi scouts dropped from the catwalks, sleek armor gleaming like black feathers. Pulse rifles lit up the corridor as Cade's group opened fire. Sparks flew as bullets bounced off armor plates. Scar fired a makeshift pistol, 2 others guarded the rear. Dar crouched beside Cade, fingers dancing over exposed circuit boards in the drone pit. The battle was brutal. The scouts were fast and deadly. One fell with blue blood spraying the floor, another charged with a blade flashing. Cade fired his rail pistol twice more, striking true. Explosions rocked the pit as a remote charge detonated. Smoke and dust filled the air, choking voices and blurring vision. When the blast cleared, several fighters lay wounded or dead. Londo, a teenage deserter, collapsed with a shotgun wound. His vacant eyes stared into nothing. Cade swallowed the rising grief, pushing it down like a weight. "Keep moving," he growled. "We don't have time to mourn." The drone control room was a ruin, but Dar managed to reconnect power lines. The cracked data core pulsed green, a sign of life. "Almost there," she breathed. "Just a little longer." But then a sharp thunk echoed from the corridor. Heavy boots approached and Velethi warriors blocked the entrance. Cade raised his pistol, heart pounding. The alien commander Varric Tal appeared, tall and silent. His armor gleamed in the red strobe light. "You carry ghosts that belong to me," Tal said, voice cold and hard. Cade steadied his aim as Tal lunged forward, exoframe servos screaming with power. The two clashed, metal hitting metal in a deadly dance. Tal's gauntlet slammed into Cade's chest, sending shock through his prosthetic arm. Cade dodged, kicked, fired, and fought with everything left in him. Scar and Dar covered Cade, firing on Tal's lieutenants. But the battle was brutal. The station trembled as explosions rocked the walls. At the edge of the walkway, Cade lured Tal toward a stabilizer cable. With a quick move, Cade triggered the release lever. The cable snapped free, yanking Tal's exoframe harness. Tal was flung into the darkness of space, his lights fading as he tumbled away from Iron Halo. Victory was brief. Cade's damaged prosthetic arm cracked and snapped, spinning away with the severed cable into the void. "No!" Cade yelled, lunging after it, but it vanished behind the station's curve. Dara caught him before he could drift too far. "There's still a fragment inside the arm's buffer. I can pull it out." Cade nodded, pain and rage mixing into a cold determination. They had proof, enough to burn through lies and expose the truth. They pushed on toward the launch deck. The station groaned, metal twisting under stress. Survivors moved in a ragged line, each step harder than the last. At the launch bay, the half-assembled shuttle waited, engines yawning open like wounded lungs. Dar worked on the beacon array, sparking violet arcs as she patched the data buffer. Fletcher guarded the rear, pulse rifle ready. Cade limped forward, armor cracked, one arm lost but spirit unbroken. The blast doors began to close, trapping them inside. Cade eyed an industrial crane hanging from the ceiling. "Fletch," he said, "think you can crack those doors?" Fletcher grinned, loading a socket wrench. "Just watch." He swung the crane's hook under the door seam, then slammed the throttle forward. The doors groaned, bolts snapping like bones. The turrets came alive, firing wild rounds. Cade hurled a flash cartridge, blinding the nearest gun. Fletch took a slug to the ribs but kept pushing. The doors peeled open enough for the shuttle's nose. The pilot gasped, "Doors open, Captain. Go earn that amnesty." Cade sprinted to drag Fletch to safety. But the catwalk shook. The autolock closed, trapping Fletch behind a heavy metal partition. Fletch smiled weakly, always wanted box seats for fireworks. The blast doors slammed shut behind Cade and the others as they boarded the shuttle. The engines flared, shields humming as they blasted away from the dying Iron Halo. Behind them, explosions raced through the prison like wildfire. The asteroid prison cracked open, venting atmosphere in deadly geysers. Cade stared out the cracked canopy, eyes heavy with loss but burning with hope. Dara hit the transmit key, sending the stolen data cores proof into the void. Signals screamed across every channel, broadcast to anyone listening. Cade whispered, "Ghosts, your turn?" The shuttle jumped to sublight speed, carrying the spark that could change everything. The shuttle shook as it jumped into sublight speed, leaving Iron Halo behind in a trail of fire and smoke. Cade sat back, chest heaving, pain radiating through his broken arm, stump and battered body. Dara kept her eyes glued to the comms panel, fingers flying over cracked keys. The beacon was alive, sending the stolen data across the galaxy, but whether anyone would listen was a question that burned hotter than the shuttle's engines. Outside, the stars streaked past like frozen rivers of light. The silence inside the cabin was heavy. Fletcher's absence hung over them like a shadow. Cade clenched his jaw, swallowing the bitter taste of failure and loss. The con man had died with a grin, but Cade felt the weight of every fallen brother pressing down on him. "Coordinates are set," Dara said softly. "The nearest trade relay is 2 days away. Neutral ground. News travels fast there." She glanced at Cade. "If anyone's listening, they'll hear soon." Cade nodded, eyes fixed on the starfield ahead. "We have to be ready. They'll come for us." The alien kill squad might be shattered, but they were still out there, ruthless and relentless. Suddenly, a soft beep broke the silence. Dara's fingers froze over the console. "Incoming signal," she whispered. "Unknown origin. But it's encrypted." Cade's heart jumped. "Open it." The screen flickered to life. A grainy hologram appeared. A face, worn and scarred, spoke in a low, urgent tone. "Captain Cade. This is Admiral Leaner of the Terran Task Force. We received your broadcast. We are mobilizing. Hold tight. Help is coming." Relief washed over Cade. For the first time in weeks, hope sparked inside him. "Tell them we're alive. That we have proof. That Iron Halo must fall." Leaner nodded grimly. "We're on it. You're not alone." The signal cut out, leaving silence again. Cade closed his eyes, remembering the faces of his dead platoon, Londo, Sly, Fletcher, and the thousands lost on Cinder 4. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. The shuttle's AI beeped a warning. Proximity alert. Unknown ships approaching. Velothi, Cade growled. They found us. Outside, dark shapes flickered on the sensors. The alien kill squad was not done. They chased ghosts and fire. Prepare for combat, Cade ordered. He gripped his rail pistol with his one good hand, body tense. Dara armed the shuttle's pulse cannons. Fletch might be gone, but they had to fight. The first volley of plasma bolts lit up the void outside, hitting the shuttle's shields. The hull shuddered under fire. Cade's mind raced. They were outgunned, outnumbered, but not outmatched. Humans had a way of surviving against impossible odds. The shuttle weaved through asteroid fields, sparks trailing from damaged armor plates. Inside, every heartbeat echoed with fear and determination. Suddenly an alarm screamed. Boarding pod detected, Dara shouted. They're coming inside. Cade readied his pistol as a hatch opened. Alien soldiers poured in, sleek and deadly. The cabin erupted into chaos. Cade fought with brutal efficiency, firing rounds, throwing punches, dodging blades. Dara covered him, hacking into the shuttle's systems to lock doors and seal compartments. But more aliens kept coming, relentless and cold. Cade felt the sting of a plasma burn across his shoulder. Pain flared, but he didn't stop. He moved toward the cockpit, dragging Dara with him. Get us out of here, he yelled. Dara slammed controls, but the shuttle was crippled. Engines sputtered, alarms blared. Suddenly, a burst of gunfire echoed from behind. Reinforcements. Scar and a small group of survivors had boarded the shuttle through another hatch. Hold the line. Scar shouted, firing a shotgun at advancing aliens. Together they fought through the narrow cabin, inch by inch, blood and sweat mixing in a deadly dance. Cade pushed forward, eyes burning with rage. This ends now. At the helm, Dara rebooted the engines. The shuttle lurched into motion, shaking free of the boarding pods. Outside, the alien ships roared in pursuit, but Cade's group held firm. Minutes passed like hours, the fight draining their strength but not their will. Then, through the chaos, a bright flash lit the void. The Terran task force arrived, ships slicing through space like thunder. The alien kill squad hesitated, caught between attack and retreat. Cade grinned despite the pain. Looks like help came just in time. The Terran ships opened fire, plasma bolts tearing through the enemy fleet. The aliens scrambled, forced to pull back. The shuttle, battered but alive, slipped into the protective formation of the task force. Cade slumped back, exhausted but alive. Dara's hand found his, steady and warm. Proof is out there, he whispered. Now the galaxy will know. Outside the window, stars burned bright, silent witnesses to the battle and the truth they carried. The fight was not over. But the spark of hope had been lit. And Captain Oren Cade was ready for the next battle. The shuttle drifted inside the vast Terran task force carrier, its battered hull marking a path of survival through space. Captain Oren Cade was carried on a stretcher to the med bay, muscles aching, wounds burning beneath his armor. The loss of his arm, the pain in his leg, and the weight of countless ghosts pressed down on him like cold iron. Yet, beneath the exhaustion, something fierce still burned, a promise to finish what he started. Dara stayed at his side, her eyes dark but steady. She was more than an engineer now, she was a lifeline. The medics worked quickly, stabilizing Cade's injuries and repairing his damaged prosthetic. He felt the cold hum of advanced machines surrounding him, the sterile sent a sharp contrast to Iron Halo's stale darkness. Captain, a voice said softly. Admiral Leaner stepped forward, his face lined with years of war and loss. You've done more than survive. You've given us the proof we needed. Cade's eyes met Leaner's, tired but unbroken. The data core has evidence of the Velothi massacre on Cinder 4. Command buried it to silence the truth. We can't let them get away with this. Leaner nodded. We're preparing a task force to bring justice. But it won't be easy. The Velothi are ruthless and their leaders will fight to the last. Cade's jaw tightened. Then we fight harder. Outside the med bay, the ship's corridors buzzed with activity. Soldiers and engineers moved with purpose. News of Cade's broadcast had spread quickly, igniting hope across the fleet. Messages poured in from allies and sympathizers, ready to stand against the Velothi. But Cade knew the enemy would strike back. The Velothi kill squad might be shattered, but their vengeance would be swift and brutal. Days passed in a blur of recovery and planning. Cade trained despite his injuries, pushing his body beyond pain. He studied tactical maps, coordinated with commanders, and prepared his small team for the assault ahead. Scar, once a desperate inmate, had become a fierce fighter. Dara's skills kept growing, her quick mind solving problems no one else could. Together they formed a ragged but determined crew. One evening, Cade stood on the observation deck, staring into the endless black of space. The stars seemed distant, cold, but beyond them lay the truth and justice he fought for. Dara joined him quietly. "You carry a heavy burden, Captain?" He sighed, voice low. "I carry more than burden. I carry the ghosts of those who didn't make it. They deserve a future." She touched his arm gently. "We all do." The calm was shattered by a sudden alarm. Red lights flashed. The ship shook as distant explosions echoed through the hull. "Enemy vessels approaching," a voice announced. The Velothi had found them again. Cade's heart thundered. "Battle stations. Prepare to engage." The fleet surged into formation, plasma cannons lighting the void. The Velothi ships were fewer now but desperate, their attacks vicious. Cade took command of a strike team, leading the charge toward the enemy's flagship. The fight was fierce, each moment a test of skill and will. Inside the enemy ship, Cade and his team fought through dark corridors lined with alien technology. The stench of burning circuits filled the air as they pushed forward. They reached the command center where Varric Tal, the alien commander who had hunted Cade on Iron Halo, awaited. His eyes burned with hatred. "You carry ghosts," Tal sneered. "But you will die with them." Cade didn't hesitate. Guns blazed. Blades clashed. The battle was brutal and close, but Cade's determination was unbreakable. In the end, Tal fell, defeated and broken. Cade stood over him, breath ragged, body aching. "We fight for those who cannot," Cade said, voice steady. "Your lies end here." Back on the Terran carrier, Cade's broadcast had ignited a fire across the galaxy. The Velothi leaders were exposed, their crimes laid bare. Justice was coming, slow but certain. As Cade looked out at the stars again, he felt the weight of his journey, the pain, the loss, and the fierce hope. The galaxy was watching. And the fight was far from over. The war was no longer just about survival, it was about justice, about reclaiming honor lost in shadow and fire. Captain Oren Cade stood on the bridge of the flagship Valiant Dawn, the Terran Task Force's lead warship. Outside the thick armored windows, stars shimmered cold and distant. But inside, hope burned bright. The broadcast Cade and Dara had sent from Iron Halo had sparked a galaxy-wide awakening. Systems that once turned blind eyes now spoke out. Fleets aligned, alliances formed, and whispers of rebellion echoed in every corner of space. Cade's body still ached. The pain from his lost arm and shattered leg was a constant reminder of Iron Halo's brutal price. But his spirit was unyielding. He had ghosts on his shoulders, yes, but their strength fueled him like a storm. "Captain, incoming transmission from Terran High Command," a young officer said. "They're authorizing full-scale intervention in Velothi-controlled sectors." Cade nodded. "Good. It's time." Dara approached, her eyes fierce but tired. "We have allies ready on every front. The Velothi won't know what hit them." The task force jumped into action. Cade led a coalition fleet against Velothi strongholds, cutting off supply lines, exposing corrupt leaders and freeing enslaved worlds. Battles raged across asteroid fields, gas giants and cold moons. But the hardest fight was within. Cade carried the weight of command, difficult choices, losses, and the burden of hope for countless lives. At night, when the stars were quiet, he felt the ghosts closest, whispering reminders of sacrifice. One day, after a fierce battle in the nebula expanse, Cade sat alone on the observation deck. The swirling colors of gas clouds stretched before him like a painting of fire and ice. Dara joined quietly. "You carry too much," she said softly. He smiled faintly. "It's not just mine to carry. We all do." Their conversation was interrupted by a message, from an unexpected source. A Velothi diplomat, once enemy, now reaching out to negotiate peace. The cost was high, but the chance for a new beginning was real. Cade considered the offer. Forgiveness was not weakness, it was a bridge to survival. The galaxy would never forget the pain of Iron Halo or the scars of war. But it could choose a path forward. Cade's voice echoed across the fleet. "We fight not just for victory but for the future, for justice, for hope, and for peace." As the task force sailed toward the horizon, Cade felt the weight lift just a little. The spark they carried had become a wildfire, lighting the darkness, changing the stars. And the human marine who survived an elite alien kill squad had become a legend.